What's up? It's Mike Mal, and you are listening to the Athletor Podcast, where we dive into the processes, mindsets, strategies of some of the most successful athletes and coaches from all walks of life. Athletor Podcast, episode number 100. Joel Shaw and I made it 100 episodes. I can't believe it, but we got Tom Ryan to come sit down and talk to us. And look, he addresses quite specifically the Rocco Welch debacle, as it were, and that he's going to be staying in Columbus. One of the other things that we spoke a lot about is having business people as part of our sport at high levels and putting them on committees that make specific changes. And I bet you'd be very surprised to know that Coach Ryan doesn't care much at all for wrestling shoes. Athletor Podcast, Coach Tom Ryan, I don't know if you know this, but you are the guest on episode number 100 here at the Athletor Podcast. We made it a century, baby. Century mark. Thank you so much for coming on, man. I really do appreciate you taking the time, especially during wrestling season. I'm sure you've got one or two other things to do today. So I will keep. I appreciate you, brother. Before we pressed record, we were talking about the new Big Ten commissioner. And can you give us a little bit of a backstory and why it's important and why in the landscape of 2025 wrestling, how it's going to affect wrestling and the Big Ten in general?
I think in general, any leadership position, you want someone who has great values, right? That is incredibly competent, right? That has kind of been in tough spots, that had to make big decisions, understands the power of committees and putting the right people in the right seats. And Tony Petitti is amazing. So we're really blessed at the Big Ten right now. I mean, he was obviously a Harvard Law School grad. He was a wrestler, but really loved baseball was his love, but he was a wrestler. And I don't talk too much about Tony, but Tony he's just a great hire for the Big Ten. He was involved again in Major League Baseball and the postseason plan that has really helped Major League Baseball tremendously, have more teams stay in it longer, so more people are following it. So, we know wrestling's in this situation where I feel like if we can't make the changes that are needed even in this tumultuous time with the transfer portal and NIL deals and the Wild West per se, if we can't get it done with Tony in there, we're in trouble, because he has a really clear, concise view on the things that I believe wrestling needs as well.
Yeah, and I don't know if you were specifically alluding to it, but I know that when we talked to Goody, he's talking about a dual meet national championship and how that can impact the sport. Is that a conversation that you've had or at least been around?
I think that's the single most important thing that wrestling needs. It's been that way forever. We don't know where we would be in terms of number of programs if we had a dual meet championship, but we do know where we are by not having one. And it seems like the numbers aren't growing. So in this new environment of revenue sharing, of roster caps, right, has challenged us even more now as a sport.
Yeah, something tells me, and from everyone that I've spoken to, it's going to get a little bit worse before it gets better. Is that kind of what you're thinking as well?
Yeah, I mean, it's just a challenging landscape. You've got, quite frankly, this is just my own, I'm just sharing opinions.
Of course.
I'm not saying I'm right or wrong, but it is my opinion. I think the college football landscape is a bit out of control. I think that the salaries that are paid, the number of student athletes that are on the roster is a bit out of control. So when's enough? When's enough? And when are you so short-sighted that you're so focused on you and not other focused? And that's just a dangerous place to be in life. And I think we're getting there. I think we're there. We're certainly there. I mean, a professional team, I believe, has 54 on their roster. I don't know where football is going to go to, and we're one of the ones that reap the benefit of a great football program, right? At Ohio State, right? It's a multi-billion-dollar organization. But at some point, enough's enough, and let's be other focused rather than self-focused.
Okay, I think you're right. I think we're past the point. We're past the precipice of this is this is going to get ugly in a little bit, but how do we right the ship right now? Like, because if you don't pay these kids, someone's going to, and if you don't take the salary, you bring down the mean salary for everyone. So how do we fix it then? Because it's ugly.
Hey, don't go anywhere. It's Mike. We'll get back to the podcast in just a second. We got to pay the bills though. Do you have an athlete that's looking to break into the social media space? We at athletorlive.com have a brand new in-depth tutorial done by none other than Caden Henshaw. If you don't know who Caden is, he's not even a Division I wrestler, yet he's got hundreds of thousands of engaged followers. Learn how to create engaging content, grow your followers, and open up new opportunities in the NIL space. Go to athletorlive.com/Caden and we'll give you the first module completely free.
I mean, obviously this is way above my pay grade.
Right.
I'm living in it and I see what's happening. And I'm going to tell you, I mean, we're in the middle of this, we just, had, a lot of public sharing of inaccurate information about Rocco, about Rocco. And we've seen student athletes in the sport of wrestling, transferring schools. And then we know what, right? They're getting paid, right? What they're getting paid. I'm all for the NIL, the objective of what it was. Listen, if you're a stud and you got all these followers and you are bringing value to the organization, you should be able to reap the benefits of that. And it wasn't allowed until recently. But as we know, as soon as that got released, that you could pay someone for their name, image, and likeness, right? Collections got together, right? Cohesive groups got together, and they started just paying people. So it's not an easy fix now, right? The cat's out of the bag. It's not an easy fix. And I don't really have an answer. It's hard to catch anybody that's doing it. So if you make an allegation, it's hard to catch them. Quite often the NCAA won't do the due diligence to catch them. And now you get caught up in this world of focusing on everybody else's house but your own, and we don't want to be there, right? We don't want to be in that negative space. There's too many things to focus on that are positive to waste energy on that. But we're in a tough spot right now as a sport. And not only wrestling, but many other sports, college athletics.
Yeah, a lot of the Olympic sports are in a tough way. I'm told that within the next year or so that these collectives are going to have to go away. Is that also something that you're hearing?
I'm hearing that. They'll go away. They'll get no tax benefit for a donor to give. So we don't right now. We're not sure where it's going. But I think everyone knows it's a bit out of control. Because how do you rein it in, right? It's always this. I talk about this all the time. It's always how much freedom, how much responsibility, right? They're on opposite ends of the planet. One is, listen, I believe in freedom. I also believe in accountability and responsibility. Well, when is there a happy medium between the two? As a father, my children had freedom. As a coach, my children had freedom, but if you're struggling in school, I'm going to increase your study hall hours. I'm going to make you get more tutors, right? So you lose some of your freedom. And then, right, when is enough? When is it now there's too much. You're a senior in high school. You got to have your cell phone on the table at 6 p.m. and you're going to bed at 7. And that's probably too much restriction. So it's always this management of freedom and responsibility and accountability. And right now, we're way on the side of too much freedom.
I just like that as a coaching philosophy, right? Like or as a parenting philosophy, that's a very simple proposition for me. You're allowed to go walk to the grocery store or whatever, but if your grades are suffering, well, then you had better bring your butt back home and get to work. So how do you judge, or how do you start off a relationship? Because you get a brand new group of kids, every 5 years or so.
Yeah.
How do you start off the relationship with these kids? Is it all freedom at first, or is it like a little bit of responsibility? And then, because that's hard to do, right? As freshmen.
Yeah, I think the foundational piece of every relationship is trust, right, and love and truth, right, and all these things. So foundationally, the most important thing is to build trust, and we build trust through the recruiting process, obviously. but you're still not walking alongside them, and you're still not managing them on a day-to-day basis. But, we start with a little less freedom. I'll give you an example. Like when you come to school here, you got 8 hours of study table. At the end of the first semester, if you have above a 3.2, you can go down to 4 hours of study table. So you build trust as well, right? And you build more freedom, into your life. The more that you show us that, well, you've earned that. You've earned for us to believe that when you say you're going to do something, you do it. So it starts with a little less, and then we increase. Even from a training standpoint, one of the things I thought was extremely unexpected when I left Syracuse and went to Iowa. I've shared this before, but I expected it to be like the military. I expected Gable to be, you're going to be here at 6 a.m. You'll be back at 3, be back at night, be back in the morning, I expected it to be this really intensely governed, lack of freedom place. And it was quite frankly, it was the opposite. It was a bunch of people that were wildly motivated. Their treasure was found in breaking people, right? Their treasure was found in being aggressive, right? Their eyes were looking toward those that trained a certain way and wrestled a certain way, right? So they had their treasure in line. Their eyes are focused on what needed to be focused on. So you didn't need to have this great, this mandate and this lack of flexibility.
This thumb on you, yeah.
This thumb on you, and it's not that my belief system is incredibly strong, but even from season to season, some teams need a little more structure. Some teams need a little less structure. I've found the best teams, right, are the ones that you have a group of men that are intrinsically motivated, and you kind of just, corral them. You keep them inside the lines. So those are the best teams I've had, right? They're just really highly motivated people.
So you start off with a little bit more control / responsibility hold up. Was it always the case? Did you do that at Hofstra? Did you make some mistakes along the way?
Oh, one of the blessings of being a coach for 32 years now, with a number of times I've failed, right? I've handled a situation in a way that now looking back, it's like, yeah, I wouldn't have handled it that way, or too much restriction or too much freedom, and it's, we're endlessly learning, right? It's an endless, I say to my student athletes here, the second, if you think you've arrived because you're a Buckeye, it's the beginning of your death. It's like, it's the beginning of the end. It never ends. It's got to be a never ending desire. And you see the guys that excel here. Jesse Mendez came in and he has a deep love for learning, a deep love for wrestling, a deep love for improvement. He's coachable, and there's no surprise that he is where he is, because he's never arrived, right? There's always growth. There's always learning. So yeah, I made so many mistakes through the years. I can't believe they stuck with me at Hofstra. Like, they were amazing. I'm a knucklehead now. Dude, can you imagine me at 24 coming out of the University of Iowa? And I'm coaching a team. I was an assistant coach, by the grace of God, by a great man and great friend, Dwayne Goldman, who's the head coach at Indiana, and he hired me out of college. And I wasn't born with this. At 6 years old, what are you going to do? I'm going to be a wrestling coach. I'm going to be a coach. It was more like Norm on Cheers. If you saw this interview with Norm on Cheers, where he was with David Letterman. And David Letterman said, so I heard you failed out at Notre Dame. And he said, I did it, but I'm one of the few people there that actually did what I'm doing for a profession now. I said at the end of the bar, and I had some drinks. It ended up being his life's profession, right? So I wasn't ordained to be a coach. It was my senior year in college, the Big Ten championships. A well-respected wrestler and coach, Dwayne Goldman, said, are you interested in coaching? And I said, let me get through the season. I'll reach out. And, so one of the struggles, I think, with the sport, is I had an education degree, but I had no experience. I jumped right into it. I was an assistant for 2 years, and then I was a head coach. And it's like, most industries is a training program. And we use our training program is simply, yes, I understood training. I understood Gable's system was brilliant. And I was fortunate to be under Gene Mills and Ed Carlin and Chris Campbell. Like, I had some really great mentors. but I didn't know about leading people. I knew about being selfish. I knew about how to make me, what I needed. But, coaching, and as you know, I mean, you're a great coach. As you know, coaching and wrestling are two different things. One's about them, and one was kind of about you. Of course, you try to make it about the team, and it is always about the team. But you're in your own head more than having to manage the thoughts of others and things. So yeah, lots of mistakes along the way, lots of learning, right. And it's true. Every mistake's an opportunity, right? Tons of opportunity. And this is not only from coaching, but fundraising and marketing and all the things that you've got to be as a head wrestling coach.
What's the most challenging part of your job now in 2025? Now that you've made the mistakes, now that you've gotten the opportunities to make those mistakes, what's the most challenging day-to-day part of your gig in 2025?
I would say that like the root of all good is to be connected with others. So I think connection is where we're built by a God that loves us, that wants us to connect to him and to others. So that gets more challenging when your responsibilities of fundraising, marketing, and all these things that come into play. And then we're in a world where right now that when I competed, there was no internet. I mean, when I got my first cell phone was in 1995. I was the head coach at Hofstra. I got a Nextel. It was like a walkie-talkie. I mean, right? These cell phones can fly the space shuttle now, right? My cell phone was a walkie-talkie. Hey, anybody out there? Anybody around? I'm gonna talk. So it was that whole side of it, that whole side of the coaching, that whole other element I just didn't have. I mean, I'm not even kidding. When I got the job at Hofstra, I remember I got to my desk, there was a stapler and a business card, and I was like hitting the stapler, like pounding on the stapler, like, this is cool. I got a desk. Now what do I do? And I was, it's like this big meathead goon from Iowa, but I was blessed. I was blessed that the things that matter. So I know your initial question, the things that matter the most are connection. Am I paying attention to the group? Am I with them? Am I hiring people that are better than me, that'll build, that'll lift me up? Am I too fearful that someone may want my position? I think those are the things that matter. Am I building trust? I was really fortunate as a kid. I grew up in a house where there was full trust. Mom never BS'd me. Mom was forward. I had a stepfather and a father. I was believed in. I was never beaten down. I was always uplifted. I was just always told, remember, your workload is critically important. Your workload is critically important. And then my parents sent me to Jay Robinson's wrestling camp for 1 month, 3 summers. I wanted to go. The first summer I wanted to go, I came back. Dad said, you go. And I said, absolutely not. Definitely not going back. It was the hardest thing I've ever done. Right, Mike? And then the next season, the season rolls around. It's like, holy cow. I just beat the dude that beat me last year by 10. And I started whooping people. I'm like, when the summer roll around, do you want to go? Of course I want to go. So if we can connect hard work to success, right? That's a serious connection to make. When you not being really gifted and talented in success, like deeply pouring into your fitness level and your learning and to get success. So I had those things as a kid. I was fortunate to have all these things. And I think even in this day and age, those just matter more now because the internet wants their attention, and the experts that don't know anything online want their attention, and they want to build a reputation on hearsay, and it's easy to distract the student athlete's mind now. Well, we had a post recently about us offering Marcus Blaze $400,000 a year. That's ridiculous. But here's what it does, right? It's ridiculous. But here's the danger in it, right, Mike? The danger in it is you have a whole team of people that read that. Now they trust us. But doesn't it plant a seed of, did they really do that?
Yeah.
Of course we didn't do that. And do they have the strength to come to us and say, did you do that? So you got to overcompensate and say, listen, here's the deal. We absolutely, I know you guys might have seen this. If you saw it, here's the situation. If you didn't see it, here's the situation. So what it demands, I think what the job demands more now than ever is a deeper trust. You got to build trust. You got to build love. They got to love you. They got to love you because here's the deal. If someone comes and tries to get them and they're offering them $150K a year, and all you got is 50. If they don't love you, they're gone.
Mm-hmm.
If they do love you, they may stay. If they love you and trust you and believe that you have their back, that they may stay for less. You know, like someone asked me the other day, would you ever leave Ohio State? Never. Why? Well, here's why. I don't care what I'm offered somewhere else. My family's here. My love, my treasure's here. My children are raising their family here. My children's significant others, their families here. I'm staying. There's nothing anybody do to pull me away from that, because that's my treasure. But we got to know what our treasure is. We got to know who we're listening to, who's in our small sphere that we're listening to, and be able to siphon away the noise. So coaching wise, it's about connection. It's about competence. It's about surrounding them with the right people. And that has never changed. It's just more complicated now.
Yeah. Here's the thing though. You specifically, Tom Ryan, have done a pretty incredible job at building that trust through doing, not saying. And here's what I mean by that. I know for a fact you had shots at those guys that were in the transfer portal. I know for a fact that you could have recruited through the portal on top of athletes that you had in town. What does that do to the trust on the team?
Yeah. So that's a great question. I appreciate you bringing that up. So ever since I was a little kid, listen, there are levels to a desire to win. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, just everybody wants to win, but there's levels to it, right? Like there's levels to skill and fitness, and there's levels to desire to win. So I will share, when I was a young kid growing up in Wantagh, New York, all my buddies got together. We would play pickup, right? We were, as kids, we were always outside. Well, first there were no computers, right? I think there was one little computer out, but there wasn't a lot of video games, and so you were outside all the time. If I lost, somebody was getting beat up. I'm not proud of it, but I was fighting somebody, right? I was a little squirt too. I was like 75 pounds, and I thought I was tough. I wasn't tough. I was all my buddies. I hung out with people I could pick on, I guess, no, just kidding. But basically we would play. We'd play all day. And my desire was, I always had this incredible desire to win. But there's also boundaries within it. There's boundaries. Yes, I want to win as bad as anybody, but there's certain things you just don't do. I wouldn't do. And I don't care if it's perceived as legal or not. So what happens if there's one guy, there's one weight on my team right now that knows that we would be interested in bringing someone in, and I sit down with him, and here's why. We can't have someone that's not at a really high level in this lineup. Mm-hmm. And we have to. It's my responsibility as a coach. And if you don't start doing A, B, and C, we're going to have to find a guy to replace you. It's open communication. And then they write back to me. What did we talk about? What did I say? What did you hear me say? Because a lot of times, right, we know this in marriage. I said this, but she heard this.
Yeah.
Whoa,
yeah.
How'd you hear that? That's not what I said. That's not what I meant. So I always, when there's communication, typically, I have them text me back. What did we talk about? When the meeting's over, text me. What did you hear me say? What did you take from it? So in the situations in the transfer portal, we've had a few that we looked at. Mm-hmm. We're not above looking at them, but sure. I always bring the guys in around that way, mm-hmm. and say, here's what I'm thinking about doing. Here's what we're thinking. What do you think? If you were me, what would you do? How do you feel about this? So there's no surprises. There's no surprise. I don't want any student athlete hearing something that we were doing. You hear it from us first. We have your best interest at heart. And if you can't be a guy that can make a difference here, isn't it our responsibility to go like extreme ownership, right? Jocko's book, Extreme Ownership. I own it. I understand. I'm not looking for any favors. When I walked on the University of Iowa, I didn't expect to be handed a spot. And I tell young people, I went to every single tournament my first year at Iowa as I possibly could. I wanted to show Gable that I was durable and I was reliable. That every single weekend I went out and competed, he's going to get X type of performance so he could build trust in me. And that's what we're looking for. And that's what I want for my student athletes. I want them to trust me. And I want them to trust my staff. I want to surround myself with people, number one, that are trustworthy more than anything. Mm-hmm. And you said something that was really powerful earlier. It's not my words, my actions. Look at my team. We have no, I'm not saying we haven't had transfers. I'm not saying we won't in the future. But right now, there's not a single guy. We could have had a lot of guys.
Yeah.
But, I'm not going to replace the number 7 with the number 2. I'm not going to do it.
Right.
I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to replace a guy that's ranked and has given me everything he has. We're not there yet. So my point earlier about, wanting to win on the playground was only to set up the fact that, yes, I want to win as bad as anybody. But I'm not going to be disloyal, and I'm not going to do it in a way that's to me is not right.
Yeah, it feels creepy. Let's talk about Rocco. You brought it up earlier. There was a bunch of rumors swirling around that Rocco was gonna be leaving Columbus. What went into the what went into the decision to redshirt him this year?
Yeah, that's a great question and a fair question. And it's been, listen, quite frankly, I didn't handle it perfectly. There's a lot of some turmoil around it. So the main reason why Rocco is still here, and you can interview Rocco, right? I would say if you asked him this, the number one reason why he's still here is that in all circumstances, we have his best interest at heart. Now, look, we know that sometimes what's best for him and best for the team, it's not always so easy. Right? The team comes first, but you never disregard the individual. Right? The team first. It's about the teams. We'll all be gone 100 years from now, and Ohio State's going to be here with a wrestling coach, God willing, that's coaching people. So we never disregard the individual matters immensely. And of course, we say, well, if each guy does his job, the team's going to do fine. I get that. That's not what I'm implying. Is not what I'm saying. So with Rocco, here's why we redshirted him. Number one, he has an option. I don't take his option. So I went to him. I went to Rocco, which started some of the rumblings of concern for him. It's three-parted. So one, is he a 74-pounder? 2, should he go 84? And 3, should he redshirt? Right? This is what we're weighing. And then there's a few other components, but those are the main 3. Is he a 74? Is he 84? Or should we just redshirt him? So from a coaching standpoint, we have Ryder Ragazzi that's only going to make 84 probably for one more year. Carson Hartzell has 1 year left, and he won't be back until late December. So I'm about wrestle-offs. I love the beauty of this sport is where there's no subjectivity. Listen, you wrestle off. Yeah. So now the problem with Rocco and Carson wrestling off, listen, we get the reigning national finalist. Yeah, he's a 74. If he wants to go 74, he goes 74. But Carson's also a 2-time, was in the All-American round 2 times. But Rocco's the dude, clearly, right? Rocco's the man. So it's like, well, what do we do? How do we handle this? I said to share with Rocco, Carson wants to go 74. We thought he might go 65. He wants to, and there's going to be a wrestle-off. Well, if we have, now wrestle-off can't occur until December. So Rocco, if we put you in the lineup for the first 4 or 5 events, and then you wrestle off, and God forbid, after you lose, now we just burn your red shirt for what? Yeah. So it wasn't so simple. It was a little more complicated than that. Where my mistake was made was that I did it too close to a competition to declaring open, and it kind of rattled him a bit. It kind of rattled him a bit. But because of the relationship that we have, he knew that, listen, these guys ultimately are looking out for my best interest. He's really big. He's really strong. He doesn't need to cut this kind of weight. So now we're assessing, do we wrestle him? Do we sit him? We've got Rogowski. And the last component was, how good could our team be in 3 years? We know how good we are right now, right? So if we just hold them, like bonehead move of the year, if in 3 years from now, you got a team to win it, but no Rocco. Yeah. And it's also not that Rocco's got the spot for the next 3 years, but it's going to be pretty hard to beat, right? So it's not like we're regardless of what happens,
you're trying to look around corners. No,
right. We're not looking around corners. I mean, it is what it is. So that's kind of what happened with Rocco. And then listen, the other piece is I don't want to get too much into this, is that there's just some shady characters out there. Mm-hmm. There's just some shady characters out there. And I guess you could call it shady, but right now it's not really that, it's not illegal. Like someone can call, someone that's not on the coaching staff can call a student athlete on another team and offer themselves and try to get them to come, right? So there's just that whole element. I'm not saying in this situation, but it's just happening in our sport. So you've got to manage all that. And I'd like to see that get cleaned up.
That gets tricky.
The poaching,
man.
Poaching is real, and a lot of people about it.
You know? I think it's not only is it real. I don't know that there's any guys around it anymore. I mean, I don't think that there's like, it's just pretty much on Front Street, which you can call that what you want. It feels icky. I know that. I mean, I'm pretty close with Coleman, and I remember when he was the head coach at UNC, he's like, they're just outright trying to take our recruits. And you know, I can see how that, and I remember him drawing a line in the sand going, I'm never going to do that. And I'm never going to do that. But at a certain point, you got to think about, like, if everyone else is freaking doing it.
Yeah.
Does it make it okay? I don't know.
And that's where I think we have a new athletic director. I was blessed to be under Gene Smith for 18 years. We've got Ross Bajork now, and we've had meetings, and it's like, you need to understand what your supervisor expectations are too. Because if my expectations be the top 5 every year in a marketplace where we have no transfers and the top 5 teams have 3 or 4 of them, that's a tough spot to be in. So either you're expecting us to play in the game or not play in the game. And then how am I being assessed? You know, am I being assessed by my graduation rates, by the fact, we are a top 10 team every year. My guys are never in trouble. My guys are doing the right things. You know, so it's like, get an understanding of who's above you and what is their grading criteria. You know,
I never thought about that. Ask the administration what the expectation is. That seems like a very simple proposition.
You need to know. You need to know what rules you're playing by, right? So let's get the framework of the guidelines that I'm playing within, and then it's just personally, am I okay with this? Am I okay trying to poach somebody, or am I going to wait for them to get in the portal before I ever reach out to them? You know, this is right. It's one's accepting a transfer, and one is I made a deal with you before you're in the portal. I want you in the portal so I can go buy you, right away. So
how often does that happen? Honestly,
I would say rarely, right, Mike? I mean, I think kids know where they're going. They're not kids. They're men. They're men. They're student athletes, right? 50 years ago, they were fighting in wars for us. Yeah. Right. At that age, you were on the front line, storming the beach in Normandy. You were a doughboy. You were fighting in trenches at 18, 19. So at 18 or 19 in this day or age, you're a man. You're not a kid anymore. You're on your own, and you're an inexperienced man, but you're a man. So that's and then it's, what can your staff tolerate when you put your head on the pillow at night? What's your self-talk? I feel good about the team I have and what I've done and how we're doing things. I feel good about it. And so Rocco's staying. We're super excited he's staying. It was never anything about things that, because the world, there's a lot of tweets going on, and I wouldn't give him a wrestle off and all this nonsense, because everybody wants to be the first one to share information. You build a reputation. I got it first. Look at me. I'm all knowing, right? It's an elevated proposition on the internet. You can be anything you want to be. I mean, nobody posts their worst stuff. Nobody posts it, right? Nope. I don't post the fights I have with my wife, right?
Nope.
The arguments that we have. I post, it's our anniversary. We love each other, right? Because that's what we do. That's just what we do. Tom and Lennon are perfect. We're far from perfect. We've been through hell together, right? But we love each other, and we stay together, and we respect each other. So and that's just the way of the land. So you can put a false narrative out there about yourself, but also people that are posting, it's like, do you really have the facts? I'm a very accessible person. Text me and ask me. I might not give you like all the details that you don't need to know, but I'll give you what you do need to know. And the fact that Marcus Blaze has offered 400, that's untrue. Don't post it. Just call me. That's ridiculous. I'm not defending. It's crazy. Or was Rocco going to get a wrestle off? Like, Tom Ryan's a moron. This guy's a knucklehead. Why would he not give reigning national champion a wrestle off? Well, I would be a knucklehead if I didn't do that. But I didn't do that. So Rock and I are great. And Rock, I think the thing that I'm most proud of through this whole little scenario that happened with Rocco is that Rocco loves the people here.
Yeah.
He trusts us. He trusts Bo Jordan. Bo Jordan's a great coach and a great leader. Colin Moore, our RTC coach, is a great man. I hired him for that reason, because they're great men. Yes, they know wrestling. But when push comes to shove, we fall back on our belief system and our value system. And knowing high crotches and single legs will not will not get you nearly as far as having someone's best interest at heart and being competent in how to deal with it.
Yeah, it's nice to see. Okay, you brought up some fundraising stuff a little bit earlier. How something tells me, and I don't know for sure, but I assume that there was a strong donor base when you got there. But here's my real train of thought and questioning. How do you go about extending that circle of donors, like bringing new people into the fold? How do you go about, what are some tactics that you use to fundraise? Because you've obviously done it at the absolute highest level. I mean, I've been to Covelli, like I've seen it. It is a real tangible thing. How do you go about expanding that circle and that donor base?
Yeah. So that's a great question. And I think it begins with a belief system that you have to be exceptional at it, or you've got to surround yourself with people that are. So it begins with, right, this fundamental belief of, forget, well, we don't need to really worry about, we're going to be good anyway. Well, you know, you're not. No, you're not. You have to come to the realization as part of your job, and you got to find the love in it and the value in it. So you got to value it first. It's got to be a treasure. We got to raise funds. And until it becomes a treasure, you're going to struggle. So that's the first thing. The second thing I think is, and this is big, it's more about building friendships. It's about serving others. Who can I serve? Who can I serve? Who can I become? Who can I build friendships with? Right. And quite frankly, it's about asking for help. And as a young guy in coaching, when I got involved, I had to raise money at Hofstra. I got to raise more money here. But I've learned that for some wise people that have shared this with me, it's all stolen, right? Mm-hmm. It's not so, it's gifted. It's been gifted by my curiosity. I don't know what I'm doing here. Can you help me? And not pretending I do. And it was always, ask for help. Ask for help. What is a great fundraising strategy? Tell me about your database. Tell me your alumni database. How clean is that? And giving people things that, serving others, giving them things they couldn't get, access to the team in a legal way, floor seats, getting them closer to the action, grabbing lunch with them, whatever it takes. It's about serving others. And I know at Hofstra, because it was tougher there than here, I ran a club at night. I know you, right? You ran really successful clinics and clubs. And the amazing thing was, yes, the dads that brought their kids there, they paid their entrance fee, but then I developed such friendships with them because I helped their kids. And it's amazing what someone's willing to give when they've been helped, when they've experienced this gift that I gave them that was just free. I was just doing what we know how to do and how to teach wrestling. And they're like, I want to get involved. I want to help you. Okay, I'd love to meet for lunch. And before you know it, you got a nucleus of people. And then you share with them, do you know anybody else I can meet with? I need help. So then it just grows and it matures. And I think that's where we are right now at Ohio State, right? The tentacles keep growing when they're treated well and they feel like part of the family. They share. It's like being a Christian, right? I know Jesus. I know what he teaches. I spend time with him. I know his heart. And when you know his heart, it's like, wow, you know what? I want you to know about this thing, man. This guy, this Jesus dude is unbelievable. I mean, this is what he teaches, his love. So then that's kind of the way I think it's gone here is be willing to serve others and ask for help.
Where did you goof though? Because you said you've goofed up a lot over the years. Where do you sidestep? Where do most people sidestep? Where do they goof up when it comes to creating those relationships, extending that circle, creating that donor base? Yeah,
I think the big goof ups for me, and it's like your ego thinks you can do everything and be everything to all. It's like I can do it all. I can, and I think the goof up is too wide, not deep enough. There's too wide. Your breath is too big. Like you got to really know your belief system, know the fundamental things that they're gonna build your program up, and you master those before you start doing too many things. And then the other thing, obviously, is just really picking and choosing well who you surround yourself with. You know, I mean, right, thousands of books written on what group do you go to? Like, I love watching basketball player killed in a helicopter crash, Kobe Bryant. I love watching. Obviously, he's long gone, but he's left his gift to us. You know, about mindset things, and you know, one of the things he said was, you know, if you wouldn't ask somebody for advice, then why would you take it over the internet? You know, like if they're not in your close group, why are you allowing words into your sphere and comments in your sphere if you wouldn't take advice from that person? That's a crazy thought, but we do it. You know, so it was really narrowing my group, getting a bunch of businessmen around me that understand things way better than I do. I knew wrestling; they knew other things, and so it's just not trying to do too much at once. Know the belief system, know exactly what you need to get done, the most important things, and hone in on those things, and then you know, the rest will fall into place in time.
It seems like it. Now, you brought up you had a bunch of business people around you, and that's kind of where our conversation started today. It looks as though Bruce Baumgartner is going to take the job of president of UWW, and that's wonderful, and it's good for the U.S. for sure. But it does, in my opinion, it scares me a little bit, right? Because I don't want to go back to the days where Jordanov was ruling FILA, and there was no innovation and there was no thought process put to any of that stuff. So it's like, do you think that this sport needs more outside influence from people like the Big Ten commissioner, like, you know, because Baumgartner does have a business, you know, at least aptitude. He was an administrator over at Edinburgh. Like, he does have. So, but I think we just need more of it, right? I think we need to bring more people into the fray. Am I crazy for saying that?
No, not at all. I think one of the reasons why wrestling has struggled a little bit is that, you know, most wrestling coaches don't get into administration. They stay wrestling coaches, right? So they never progress into the administration, where they're in the business meetings that are deciding what the fate of certain things. And instead of having wrestlers in there, former wrestling coaches in the meetings, these committees are made up of people that know anything about wrestling and are making decisions on wrestling, right? We need people that understand the sport on the right committees. But I would say this about Bruce. I mean, I don't know Bruce extremely well, but I know him well enough. And I think this isn't about Bruce. We're talking more about just the sport,
exactly,
right? Progressing the sport. And I would say that give me authenticity on a committee, someone who's authentic, because authentic is the most powerful emotion that we have. It's more powerful than love. Being in a room with someone where you just sense their authenticity and their actions back it up. That's the most powerful tool that we have. So number one, we know he's authentic. And I think, I don't know what happened in the past, but my hunch and the rumblings that you hear in regard to wrestling being dropped was the former person that was representing, can't pronounce it, wrestling. He wasn't liked that well. He wasn't authentic. So it's easy. Like, if I'm going to get rid of a sport, let's get rid of the guy that nobody likes. Like, I can't get rid of people that are authentic, right? And that's just what we do.
As stupid as that sounds, that is probably 100% true.
Right. It's human nature. It's about relationships and getting along with people. So give me authenticity over incredible competence, but I want both. And I think, you know, in Bruce's case, again, it's just, I know it's not him, but in that case, got competence. He's authentic. And it's hard to get in a really bad place when you're always just sincere and honest with people. Hey, it might not have been the perfect solution, but man, you had the well-being of everybody in mind. And I think it goes way further than just being a knucklehead that is a driving force. All I care about is me and the heck with everybody else. Like, let's get rid of that dude. You know, it's the All Blacks. I just talked to my team about it a little bit. We had that leadership meeting this morning, my team. And the All Blacks, I've read the book. You know, they're Australian rugby team, right? Rugby team. And they have two questions for every new team member. They ask every team member two questions before they bring you in. Their captains meet, and number one, are you a knucklehead? Are you a selfish knucklehead? Are you a jerk? Are you someone that just can't get along with people? And we all been around people like that.
Sure. Oh yeah.
They're destructive, right? They're coach killers. They're mood killers. They're culture killers. And then number two is, what are you willing to do for the team? Or in this world of what about me? And I get the what about me. I think about me. What is the best thing for my team? And those are the two things we're looking for. And those are the type of leaders that, you know, we want. They're good. They get along with others, and they really have the well-being of the organization at heart.
Yeah. Yeah, that's well put, sir. All right. Joel Shaw, anything else before we start the sprint? All right, let's rock and roll.
I'm not good at the sprint anymore.
Yeah, you are. Yeah, you are.
I
You are
barely
fat.
can't sprint, man. Can't move anymore. I'm less mobile than Mike Tyson right now. Like way less.
That was a tough
way
look.
less.
That was a tough look.
I cannot catch a chicken. There's no way I can catch a chicken in the
All
snow.
right.
All right.
Well, you can use your mouth for these, so you don't have to worry about your legs.
All right.
Try not to think about these answers. Just fire away. What is the best wrestling shoe of all time, Coach Ryan?
Best, man, I don't even know wrestling shoes. I wear sneakers when I wrestle. Right now, I wore sneakers. My guy's like, you really wearing every day. So I don't know, something with, I would say, I don't know. I mean, I can't even name a wrestling shoe. I've been coaching for hell. I don't even know a wrestling shoe. I told you I would be good at this. I don't. I like kind of Asics was good to me at Hofstra. I don't know what kind of shoes we wore. And then of course we're at Nike here. But I honestly could not tell you the name of one wrestling shoe. That's sad.
That is awesome. It's awesome. It actually makes me happy. Here's why. Don't worry about the minutia. Worry about the big picture. And that seems to be your job description.
Yeah. Well, my guys, I got some guys that are brilliant geniuses that sell them and know the market value. It didn't matter what I was wearing, man. I just wanted to try really hard.
Okay, fair enough. All right. Next one. You only get 4. You got to be American. Who is on your Mount Rushmore of wrestling?
Oh, man. Well, Ono is quickly rising. I mean, he's young, but he hasn't been there long enough. But I would say someone like Satiev, of course. So watch lots.
Well, no, it has to be American.
It has to be American. Oh, right. Americans only. Well, shoot. Stieber Snyder.
Love it.
Stieber Snyder. Obviously Kale. Kale Sanderson. You know who he is?
I've heard of him once or twice.
He was good. Kale, Snyder, Stieber, and I would say, I was around Tom Brands a lot. And he was a pretty unique leader to be around him. I would say, I don't know. I only got 4, right? Am I at 4?
That's 4. Yeah. All right. Snyder is creeping up on everyone's list more.
You got Burroughs. I'm talking about college wrestling, the combination of, there's so many, but
yeah. But it's nice to see, like, in this era that we're in, and like, it's probably, the golden era of American wrestling, right? And it's debatable, of course, but it's dominated by the guys like Jordan Burroughs, and everyone kind of puts him on the list for sure, and with great reason. But Kyle Snyder, it's getting almost impossible to ignore that like some of the things that he's done. It's been pretty.
My frame of reference, listen, I love Dan Gable. Dan Gable changed my life. So there's plenty out there.
For sure. All right, last one. You got a magic wand and you can change one thing about the sport of wrestling, and it changes tomorrow. What would it be?
It is an annual competition plan that includes a dual meet champion as well as a tournament champion. It is a comprehensive.
It doesn't seem that hard.
It's a comprehensive plan that causes the fan base to follow you throughout the year to determine who gets into the event, the dual meet championships, and who becomes the best dual meet team in the country. The dual meet will always be our lifeline, and the longer we let it slip away, the more trouble we'll be in. Team 100%. Sports are booming.
Yes, 100%. And we've talked about it at length on this podcast, but it seems like a pretty freaking easy fix, man, doesn't it? Like, okay, let's talk about a simple plan. Simple. Conference champions get in. So what's that, 6? That puts us at 6, plus 4 wild cards. However you want to disperse those. Right. Now you got 10 teams. Top 2 teams get a bye. I mean, like it just seems like so freaking simple.
No, I know, Mike. And you know what? There are aspects of it that are simple, but they have a little bit of a complex scenario around it. You know, travel and who's in, how do you get in, what time of the year do you do it? But what we're witnessing right now in college football is that if Ohio State beats Michigan in football, they're likely going to play Oregon 3 times this year. They played them during the season. They would have played them in the Big Ten championship game, and they could likely play them in the national championship game. It could have gone that way. And one of the concerns with college coaches is that we already wrestle each other enough. You know, so, but the thing is, when you believe strongly enough that something's right, nothing stops you from attaining it.
Yeah.
There is no reason why we don't. It's not a strong enough reason. If the why is big enough, then you figure it out. And there's a lot of ways that we can do. You do it after the individual championship. You take a week off, and after you do before. There's all sides on that. Yeah. Regardless, let's get it going.
Yeah, I mean, you said it, and it's ironic that you said it because about Michigan and Oregon, because the weekend after they played the first time, we had Frank Popolizio on, and he said, "You think they wanted to play them second week of the season, third week? No, absolutely not. If it was left up to the coaches, there's no chance they put that on the schedule. But they don't have a choice. You're playing them. Why? Because it's good for the sport. It's going to bring in ratings, and it's amazing for football. So,
Mike, that's exactly it. And here we go again, right? We're back to the same as earlier of what's good for my team, what's best for the sport, what's good for the fan base, what's best for my team, you know, and how much on each side. Where is that happy medium? And we have to start thinking. I mean, there's not a show on. If nobody watches shows, they get canceled. You got to make your show interesting. You got to make your show, you know, make sense. It's got to have a following to it. It has some common sense to it. And right now, I'm not saying that it's terrible, but it's just not where it should be.
No. What do you think the likelihood is that in the next couple of years we get a dual meet national championship?
You know, I think we need we need the NCAA to, you know, this whole proportionality and Title IX, and you can't have 2 championships in one sport. It's like if they would just given us 2 championships in one sport, it would have happened already. But they're saying you get one sport, you get one championship. You got to either call it this or that. So we've chosen to keep it as a tournament. But what would be even smarter of us, which is what football did. Basketball didn't. The NCAA exists because of basketball and the Final Four and how much money that brings in, supports the whole NCAA. Football doesn't bring in anything. They keep the money. What is the smartest thing for us to do is not allow the NCAA to get involved. We're not allowing it. The coaches come up with it, and it's the coaches doing it. But it's viewed around the world as the FBS isn't viewed as a non-NCAA championship event. It's viewed as the best team in the country. So we got to build it, make it ours, make the money on it, take the money, and do good things with it to help all the teams. If you give it to the NCAA, listen, they're trying their butts off right now. The NCAA is trying hard to find ways to increase revenue in wrestling. Wrestling's one of 3 or 4 sports, I believe, that makes money. And I could be off on that. It used to be. There might be more now. But that actually makes money on the championship. So now Anthony Holman's done an amazing job for us. The guy's fantastic. Right. And so now we got to raise prices. We got to sell more hot dogs. We got to do this. How do we make more money in this weekend?
Right.
Well, go to a bigger venue. Now they're going to go to Minnesota again because it's a bigger venue. So they're always looking to make more money. So for us, we have to think that way more about how can we make our sport a revenue generator. If a businessman came in and said, I'm running this as a business, he would flip this thing on its head.
Sure. Understood. Coach Ryan, it has been an absolute pleasure speaking to you. And thank you once again so much for coming on and taking some time out of your day and out of the season. I appreciate it, brother. Thank you.
Yeah, good with you guys. Good with you, Joe.
All right, Coach. Wait, don't go anywhere before you hit that next button. If you enjoyed listening to this episode, do us a huge favor. click that subscribe button. And if you're so inclined, leave a review and share it.